for Marketing Mondays. We're so excited to have you back today. Today we have a great episode on diversity and inclusion in communication. We are working here on Marketing Mondays for small efforts for a big impact. So I'll be your host today. My name is Kara. My co-host PJ is with us as well, and he'll be monitoring our chat today. So if you have any questions or comments throughout, please feel free to communicate with him in the chat. So let's take a quick look at today's blueprint. So today we are going to explore the components of diversity and inclusion in communication and marketing. So we'll look into understanding what these words truly mean. We'll also highlight the economic advantages of including them into your strategies. We will spotlight the significance of cultural awareness, particularly in rural tourism, and also discuss the rise of LGBTQ plus friendly travel initiatives. Additionally, we will emphasize the importance of diverse narratives in storytelling and work to offer some insights into tailoring your messages and your marketing campaigns. We'll also look into addressing accessibility in lodging, events, activities, and our websites and why that's so important. And then look into amplifying minority voices through social media and our digital marketing platforms. We'll also tackle overcoming challenges and then conclude with some key takeaways for some actionable implementation. Okay, so let's just start off just quickly defining diversity and inclusion. So diversity encompasses the range of human differences, including, but not limited to, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, age, socioeconomic status, religion, and ability. And then inclusion refers to creating an environment where all individuals feel welcome, respected, and valued, regardless of their differences. So here it's not just about representation, but also fostering a sense of belonging and equity for everyone. And then when we look into the economic benefits of diversity and inclusion in tourism, research has consistently showed us that diverse and inclusive tourism destinations tend to attract a greater and broader range of visitors. And so this diversity in our visitor demographics translates to increased spending and economic growth within our communities. So when travelers see themselves reflected in our marketing materials, they start to feel welcome and they're more likely to choose our destination for their next trip. This leads to positive impacts on local businesses, hotels, restaurants, and attractions. And so that's why it's so important here that we're just very thoughtful on this topic of diversity and inclusion in our communication strategies. So now let's take a quick look into cultural awareness in rural tourism. So rural North Carolina really boasts a diverse cultural landscape. It's shaped by indigenous heritage, immigrant communities, and unique religious or regional traditions. So cultural awareness involves acknowledging and respecting this diversity and recognizing the contributions of different cultural groups to the fabric of our communities. And so cultural awareness in rural tourism entails preserving and celebrating our local traditions, such as music, art, cuisine, festivals. And then these traditions are not only integrated into the identity of rural communities, but they also help to serve as key attractions for our visitors that are seeking those authentic cultural experiences as well. And this goes beyond just surface level appreciation of diversity. It really involves here promoting cross-cultural understanding and a strong sense of empathy as well. And so we can start to facilitate meaningful interactions between our visitors and our local residents. And then effective cultural awareness in rural tourism requires integrating cultural sensitivity into our marketing efforts. And so this includes using language and imagery that accurately reflect the cultural diversity of our communities. We want to avoid stereotypes and showcase really authentic experiences that resonate with diverse audiences. And so by working to really embrace our cultural awareness, we can start to create really inclusive and very welcoming environments for our visitors. All right, and now since June is Pride Month, let's take a quick look at LGBTQ plus friendly travel initiatives. So LGBTQ plus travelers represent a really significant and growing segment of the tourism market. And so understanding the unique needs and preferences of these travelers is very essential when we're creating inclusive and welcoming tourism experiences. And so this includes recognizing the diversity within the LGBTQ plus community itself, and also understanding the importance of safe and affirming spaces when planning travel. And so LGBTQ plus friendly travel initiatives really involve implementing inclusive policies and practices throughout that ensure that all visitors feel really welcome and respected. This may include training your volunteers or training your staff to provide inclusive customer service, offering gender neutral facilities, and then promoting LGBTQ plus events and attractions in our marketing materials as well. Another way that we can work with this is collaborating with LGBTQ plus organizations or advocacy groups in our regions. This is really crucial for developing effective friendly travel or LGBTQ plus friendly travel initiatives. And then these partnerships can really provide valuable insight as well into the needs and the preference of these travelers, as well as access to resources and networks within the community. And then finally, promoting LGBTQ plus events and destinations is an essential component of these friendly travel initiatives. So highlighting things like pride celebrations, festivals, cultural events, these can help attract travelers, but also help position your destination as a really welcoming and inclusive, safe place to visit. Additionally, featuring LGBTQ plus owned businesses and friendly accommodations in your marketing campaigns can really help to create visibility and support within the community. All right, now let's jump over to incorporating diverse narratives into our storytelling. So storytelling is a really powerful tool in tourism marketing that we talk about a lot. It's capable of evoking emotions, creating connections, and also helping to shape perceptions. And so by incorporating diverse narratives into our storytelling, we can provide a more inclusive representation of our community and of its cultural richness. So diverse narratives in storytelling involve amplifying the voices and experiences of underrepresented communities within our tourist destinations. And we'll look more into this in just a minute on the next slide. And look into amplifying these voices. We also want to keep in mind that authenticity is key here. So when we're working to really incorporate diverse narratives into storytelling, we want to strive to represent these diverse communities accurately and also respectfully. We want to avoid stereotyping and tokenism. And this may involve engaging with our community members to co-create stories that authentically reflect their experiences and their own perspectives. And so by prioritizing authenticity here in our storytelling, we work to build a stronger trust and enhance the overall tourism experience. And then empowering local voices and local perspectives is really essential here as well for creating a more inclusive tourism narrative. So collaborating with your community members, working to share their stories, interviews, or their heritage, whether that be through guided tours, cultural events, or also just incorporating them into your digital storytelling platforms. All right, so now let's move on and take a quick look at tailoring our messages and our marketing campaigns. So, effective marketing really begins with a deep understanding of our target audiences. So, by understanding their unique needs and the preferences of each audience segment, we can really work to tailor our messages and our campaigns to resonate with their specific interests and their motivations. And so once target audiences are identified, segmentation allows us for personalized communication strategies. And so we have a Marketing Mondays episode in our Knowledge Center and on our YouTube channel on market segmentation to give you a little bit more of a guide through that. But basically, segmentation involves categorizing your audiences based on their shared characteristics or their behaviors, such as demographics, psychographics, or their past travel experiences. And so by segmenting our audiences, we can start to deliver more relevant and more targeted messages. And so cultural sensitivity is also very important here when we're working to tailor our messages and our imagery for diverse audiences. And this includes being thoughtful and using language that reflects cultural nuances and preferences of our different demographic groups, as well as imagery that really resonates with their own lived experiences and their unique identities. And so here we should work to avoid stereotypes and ensure that our messaging is really inclusive and respectful of diverse cultures, backgrounds, and perspectives. Okay, now we are going to jump real quick into accessibility. So we'll just touch on this a little. So accessibility is really about ensuring that everyone, all of your visitors, or your locals, regardless of their physical abilities or their limitations, has equal access to lodging, events, activities, digital platforms, and so forth within your tourism destination. And so this includes individuals with mobility impairments, visual or hearing impairments, cognitive disabilities, and any other accessibility needs. And so we want to follow accessibility regulations and standards here. This might include requirements for wheelchair ramps, accessible parking, signage, braille materials, and assistive listening devices. It's important here that we also really consider our digital platforms as well, just making sure that they're accessible for everyone. You can find some really good, easy tips online for making your website accessible for everyone as well, something that we don't always think about, but adjusting your color contrast or adding alt text to your images. And then utilizing universal design principles when designing or going back in and redesigning our facilities, our accommodations and attractions with things like step-free entrances, wide doorways, all accessible restrooms, adjustable lighting, and so forth. And so accessibility is not only a legal and ethical responsibility that we need to think about, it's just really imperative for our business as a whole. Providing accessible lodging, events, and activities and websites enhances our visitor experience and their satisfaction. It leads to positive word of mouth recommendations and repeat visits. And now we're going to touch on amplifying minority voices through social media and digital marketing. So representation really matters in social media and in our digital marketing. Minority voices, including those from our marginalized communities, such as people of color, LGBTQ plus individuals, indigenous groups, individuals with disabilities. These voices often go unheard. Or they're underrepresented in mainstream media. And so we want to work to amplify these minority voices so that we can contribute to a more diverse and more inclusive narrative that helps to reflect like the true richness and the true diversity that's within our communities. So some ways that we can do this are featuring guest bloggers, guest influencers, or community members who represent diverse backgrounds and identities. This is a really good strategy for storytelling and social media as well to help build that connection. And then social media and digital marketing also offer opportunities for engaging in meaningful dialogue and meaningful advocacy around issues of diversity and inclusion. And then finally, we want to work to build collaborative partnerships. So collaboration is really key to amplifying minority voices effectively. These could be collaborating with minority-owned businesses, community organizations, or advocacy groups in your area to co-create content and campaigns that help to reflect all of these diverse perspectives that we have. Now, there will be a lot of challenges in including diversity and inclusion, but let's look at some ways to overcome these challenges. So some common challenges can include things like resistance to change, a lack of resources or expertise. Sometimes we have unconscious biases or misconceptions about our audiences. But by identifying these challenges, we can really start to develop strategies to address them effectively when it comes to diversity and inclusion in our communication. Education and awareness, awareness building, these are really essential for overcoming challenges related to diversity and inclusion. So it's important here to provide training, provide resources to our staff and to our stakeholders to really increase understanding of diversity issues, cultural competence, and inclusive practices. By working together with local communities, businesses, government agencies, and advocacy groups, we can really work together to leverage our collective knowledge, resources, and networks to address complex issues more effectively. A collaborative approach is also good to help build trust, foster that mutual respect, and also just ensure that diverse voices are heard. And then we also want to work to implement our inclusive policies and practices. And really, this might involve reviewing and updating some of our documentation, our organizational policies to really ensure that they're inclusive, as well as they're adopting the best practices for promoting diversity. All right, now before we go to our discussion together, let's look at a few key takeaways today. So the first is that we want to embrace diversity and inclusion as our core values for our business. Diversity and inclusion should be recognized as fundamental values in tourism communication. And so by embracing diversity and fostering inclusivity, we can start to create more authentic, more welcoming, and enriching experiences for our visitors and our community members alike. The next key takeaway is authentic storytelling drives engagement. So authentic storytelling is a really powerful tool for connecting with our audience on an emotional level. And so by incorporating these diverse narratives from our communities into our marketing materials, we can really work to captivate our audience, foster empathy with them, and then build stronger connections as well with our visitors. Our third key takeaway today is collaboration leads to innovation and impact. So collaboration and partnerships are really essential for creating a meaningful impact in promoting diversity and inclusion in our tourism. So by working together with our community members, with our stakeholders, we can really leverage a collective expertise and resources to address complex challenges in diversity and inclusion and work to achieve our shared goals. And then our last key takeaway for you today is that continuous learning and adaptation here are essential. So diversity and inclusion efforts really require continuous learning, adaptation, and commitment. We should be open to feedback here, be proactive in seeking out opportunities for diversity and inclusion in our marketing. By staying informed and responsive to our changing needs and perspectives, we can start to create create a much more inclusive tourism experience for everyone. All right, so that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you so much. We also have some quick QR codes here for everyone if you'd like to sign up for next week. We are moving Marketing Mondays to 12 p.m. starting next week on the 24th. We'll be sending out an email to address this as well. So we have a QR code for 12 p.m. And then we also have our Uplift newsletter and a quick survey for Marketing Mondays.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Kara. Great point. So, we will also be continuing to send out or updating the Knowledge Center. Thank you, Taylor, for always doing that so that if the new schedule works better for you, awesome. If for whatever reason you can't make one, just know that we're going to continue to publish content so that everybody can have access and watch it at a later time.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. So we look forward to seeing you next week at 12 p.m.
Bye, everybody.